Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. How are you doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. This is a follow-up video to one I just put out a few days ago because I've had a lot of people asking me this question after I did the video on can you sell your journals. And I will put that in the description box if you link it in there if you are interested in seeing that. And long story short, yes you can, okay? And then there's all kind of caveats to that. What I'm going to talk about today is the question I got after that, which is an obvious question. How should I price my journal? And that is a big loaded question because it can be different for everyone. And I have all these journals in front of me because I wanted to have some sort of backdrop so you wouldn't just be staring. And I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about too. Everyone's going to tell you their formula and of what you should price your journal at. But in the end, you can throw all of that out the window because ultimately the market determines the price. You don't. You can say you want X, but it just depends on the market. And the market's going to be different for different journal makers. So the formula that you get, you know, may not work for you, but it may work for them. Okay? And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you the things you need to consider. But again, I'm getting to the end before we even get to that point. The market is going to determine the price. That is just, you know, I'm a marketing major. That's what I did for a living. And I'm telling you that you can come up with whatever you want to for what the price is. And then, you know, it's ultimately not up to you. Because it's up to the buyer. They're going to decide what they want to pay for it. And you'll get a better feel for your customers and what they want to pay and what you want to sell it for, and come to a meeting of the minds, and you will consistently probably sell your journals for that price. And in all likelihood, that price will go up eventually. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay? But first, let me tell you, these are the things you do need to consider. What are the costs of supplies to make that journal? Okay? And if it's a true junk journal, it may not cost that much at all. It may cost, you know, $5. Okay? A lot of the journals that you see out there probably cost much more than that because they're using, you know, a lot of vintage things that maybe they bought. And they may have gotten them for a good price, but still that adds up. You may see people adding a lot of things to them that would increase the price, as far as jewelry and, you know, things like that. Also, you have people using digitals that they had to purchase, which really they're very cost effective because you can use them over and over again, or scrapbook paper that they could only use one time. You know, that's a consideration too. And of course, all the vintage documents and things that they may put in there, or, you know, the cost of the paper, the cost of the ink, all of that adds up as to, you know, the cost of your journal. Then after you figure out what it costs to actually make it, which is really hard because if you buy things in bulk like I do, you know, or I buy a lot of something, I very rarely buy small amounts of anything. You know, your price per journal is kind of hard to break down, but you kind of know. You got a running total, maybe if you spent this much on this lace and how much lace did you use, and then, you know, etc. If you bought this ribbon and how many journals did you make out of it, that kind of a thing. after you've done that, you have to decide where you're going to market this journal and how are you going to sell it. If you're going to go to a craft fair, there's fees involved in that. You know, what are those fees? If you're going to list it on a site like Etsy, what are those fees? Okay, you gotta think about all that. You also have to think, and I'm not really going to go into what site's better or not, because I'm certainly not an expert. I've looked at a lot of different ones. I sell my things on Etsy just because it's easy, and it's a huge marketplace. You can do it on other sites that have lower fees. I don't know that any of them are a lot lower, but you're not going to get the kind of traffic that you get on Etsy. But then I hear people say, well, there's a lot of competition. Well, yeah, there's a lot more journals out there, but I think the traffic is so much higher that it makes up for the fact that there's a lot of journals out there, because you got a lot more eyeballs out there looking, you know, for that. So anyway, in the end, I don't know that it really matters where you put it, because you're going to find out very quickly if you do this that you have to bring people to you. No matter what site you're on, even a big site like Etsy, you're going to have to do your own marketing. Other people are not, they're not going to do it for you. So it doesn't really matter where you put it. So as long as, you know, you feel comfortable with it. The other thing you need to think about too is you want your customers, it's not just about you, it's about where do they feel comfortable buying it too. Or how do they know how to buy it? And that's one reason why Etsy works well for a lot of people, because they're comfortable, they can do PayPal, they can, you know, do whatever if they want. It's something that they know that they can come back if there's a dispute and come back and go through them. So it's really something that you have to think about, not just about what's better for you, what's better for your customer. The other thing is taxes, and you will pay taxes. And I think they've kind of skipped this year and last year, but there's a new law that over $600, you're going to get a tax form saying you earned that, and you're going to have to report it. They're not doing it. They're going to do it this year, last year, but eventually they will. So even if you're only selling a small amount, you're going to end up having to report it. And my personal view is I like to put it somewhere that I know that they're keeping track of it, and I'm going to get my tax form at the end of the year and have that. So that's my personal view on it. But in any case, that's a cost. That's an expense to you. So the other thing, which is a huge expense, is shipping. And that number that keeps going up. So, you know, if you're selling your journals for $25, I guarantee you're losing money. Some people, and I have done this, I've sent my journals medium mail. Some people say that you can't send them medium mail. Well, I checked with the post office and specifically asked them at my post office, and they said it qualified for medium mail. So medium mail is a lot less expensive, but they don't insure the package. So what I would do, because, you know, I sell a lot of my journals for over $100. So, you know, I'm thinking, well, if these get lost or damaged or something, I have to refund the customer, and I don't have a journal after that. So I'm really out money. I found that if I shipped it medium mail, which takes 4 to 6 days, which normally it doesn't even take that long. So it's almost, I think it's about the same as their ground. It usually ends up being about that. but it's a lot cheaper, but they don't insure it. So then I would insure it. And by the time I added the insurance, I could go ahead and send it, you know, on 2-day or 3-day, and it pretty much came out to be the same, which they do insure it up to $100. So, you know, it really just depends on the actual journal. I mean, I have some journals I sell for over $200, and I buy insurance on those. So that's a cost if you buy the insurance in addition to, well, it's part of the shipping cost, really. Packaging. I know that sounds like a little thing, but I like to wrap my journals and make them look pretty, and I also make sure I bubble wrap them and do all that so that they're in good condition. I do repurpose boxes because we're supposed to be about recycling, so I do that. But for the most part, your packaging costs, because I remember I had to buy another big thing of bubble wrap, and I was shocked at the price, and I had to buy some more, packaging tape, and I'm like, man, this stuff just keeps going up and up. I think they just know that this time of year people are selling things or sending things, so that price goes up. Now, this last one it's important, but I don't think it really is an easy thing to peg, and I also think it's something you're not going to get reimbursed for in making a junk journal. I mean, yeah, you can want to, and there are some makers out there that have been doing it long enough, that have such a following that they will get reimbursed for it, but a majority of you will not, and I'm just saying that as a realistic expectation. Your time, how much time does it take to make a journal? And I think most people, they're told this formula about your time and all this. Okay, well, if you really do that, most journals should sell for $200-300, okay? But let's just say you narrow it down and most should sell for at least $100. Well, the thing about it is that whether or not your journal sells for $100 or not, or whatever, is really going to depend on you and your marketing and your connections and the people that buy your journals. Again, the market. Again, your customers are determining your price. The market is. And the people that can get paid for their time usually have a following, usually have people that go, I'll pay any price for one of their journals. And that comes to this point of junk journals. Junk journals, to me, are an art form. They are not just a commodity like a journal you can go buy at Walmart and write in, okay? They are something that you put, it's an art form, okay? These are an art form. These are not something that you can find anywhere else. They're unique, they're individual, and it reflects the maker, okay? And so ultimately, art is subjective. And so, a Picasso is going to sell way more than something I can cook up and and paint. So, and yet we may have spent the same amount of time doing it, but depending upon the artist, okay, that price is going to be different, okay? And that's why the little formulas do not work. They do not work, okay? So you're going to hear about them, and I'm just going to tell you that it doesn't work, because art is subjective, and your customer who buys that art is going to determine the value. So there are some people out there that have such a following that they will really pay up for that piece of art, okay? Whereas little you that maybe just started out and you go and you put your journal out there, and nobody knows who you are. They don't know what your work is. You don't have a bunch of customers that have bought from you before. Well, they're probably not going to pay the same price as they would for this other person. Okay, so that is what realistically you have to look at when you first start out. Okay, and if you watched my other video, you would know that the most important thing about whether or not you can sell your journals is whether you market your journals. You have to market your journals. You cannot just make a journal, put it in an Etsy shop, put it on eBay, put it on Ko-Fi, and expect to sell it. You will not. It doesn't work that way. Nobody knows they're there, okay? And they're not going to find it. To get even noticed in the search engine for Etsy, when they pull up journals, you have had to have done it for a while, had all kinds of 5-star reviews. I mean, and even then it's hard, okay? So you really cannot depend on that. You have got to bring people. I mean, I just look at Etsy as a facilitator for me, okay? And any other place I put it, even if I had my own website, it is just a place that gets the transaction done, okay? I don't look at them at all as a vehicle for marketing, okay? I'm just going to say, okay, I've made this journal. Go to my Etsy shop and you can buy it, and it lets you check out, and you do it however you want. But I don't look at it as a way to actually sell my journal. I have to sell my own journal, okay? So you need to realize that you will definitely have to market, okay? And for some people, that there may be a cost involved in that. I don't know, you know. Most of the time, you can do it very easily through social media. There are Facebook groups that you can show your journals. There are, you know, Instagram. You can do it on TikTok. You can do it on definitely YouTube. There's all different ways that you can market your journal, okay? And doing that will get people's attention, and they'll go, oh, I'll take another look at that, okay? And they'll go, and then they'll go to wherever you are, Etsy or eBay or whatever, Ko-Fi, whatever you want to do, and then they'll look into buying your journal, okay? But they're probably not gonna find it any other way other than you telling them it's there somehow, some way, okay? So basically, the most important thing that I want to say in pricing your journal is art is subjective. So it's a very, very hard thing to say, okay, you know, this is what the price would be. So giving you a formula isn't going to work, okay? It's going to depend on you and who your customers are going to be, and the market for them, and that will change over time. If you are brand new, your journals are not going to sell for as much as somebody who's been out there. It's not that your journals aren't any just as good, if not better. I mean, I see lots of people out there where I'm like, wow, that's freaking amazing, okay? But you know, the thing is that there's people out there with, you know, 100,000 subscribers, and they can put any old journal out there and boom, it sells like that, and it may sell for a lot more. But that's just how it is for right now. You know, that's how all art is. It's not that this is different. It's the same. It's the same as any art. You just have to, you got to quit thinking of it as just a commodity, okay? It's art, okay? And art is subjective, and the value of that art is subjective. So coming up with a price based on a formula is never going to work, okay? It's just not going to work. But you do have to consider the cost of your supplies, the cost to list, what the fees are, your taxes, your shipping, packaging, and the time, okay? And the reason I say the time is hard to I don't know. I can honestly tell you there are journals that I've worked on for 2 years, on and off. I'll take it, I'll do it. And then a lot of the time too that I spend on a journal is me not making up my mind. Like, I don't know. I don't like, well, I don't know. Let me try that. Let me try this. You know, so it could be that it took me, you know, 2 weeks to make one journal, okay? And a lot of it is because I couldn't make up my mind. I was having difficulty figuring it out. Other times I can do one in 2 days, and it's not, you know, not 2 full days, but maybe, you know, 3 or 4 hours here, 3 or 4 hours there. And so it's a completely different thing. But if you think you're going to get paid like a hourly wage that's decent for making these journals, guys, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. You're just not. And unless you get in that upper echelon where your journals are so popular that immediately they sell. But even those journals, I mean, I look at the price. I know you look at those journals and the work they put in them, they are not getting paid a decent wage. They're just not. Okay? So you're never going to get paid that wage that everyone keeps telling you you need to calculate. It ain't going to happen. You need to do this because you love it. You enjoy it. I do it because I find it very, very enjoyable and cathartic, and it really is a way to release stress. It is an art form. I look at it as an art form, and it's creating art. And, you know, I sell my journals just because they start piling up after a while, and if you've done this enough, that you'll realize that that's what happens. And yeah, you can give them away and do whatever, but eventually you run out of people to give them to, and, you know, it's like, I don't know, or sell them to around you. You've got to broaden your market. One thing I do want to say, because some people were talking to me back and forth about going to a craft fair and selling, and the craft fair has a lot of eyeballs and whatever. Well, you know what? Selling to people online, you're talking millions and millions and millions of people, okay? And there is a market for these journals, okay? You just have to make sure that they know you're there. And if you make journals that, you know, and I'm not going to tell you if you make a good journal, because that, again, art is subjective, okay? If you make journals that the market wants, okay, that's just the way I'm going to put it, because, you know, art's subjective. And if you make journals that the market wants, you'll sell them. You just have to make sure people know that you're there, okay? And you'll sell them for a decent price, but you won't ever get paid for all the time you put in it. You will get paid for your supplies, and you will get paid for the cost of list. You will get paid for your taxes, and you will get paid for your shipping and packaging. You'll get paid for all that, okay? You can sell it for enough to pay for all of that and have a nice little profit that you can take, and you'll probably spend it on more stuff, okay? I don't think you can make a living at it, and I went through all of that in my last video. You can have a nice little part-time gig. You can make more, but you have to come up with other areas of revenue, because you can only make so many journals, okay? You can only make so many. You only have so much time. And no matter how popular you are and how much people want your journals, there is a ceiling for these. It's not like a Picasso. So there's a ceiling limit that most people are going to pay, and that is not going to support you. Okay, so you're going to have to find other ways, just because even if you hit that ceiling, you can still only make so many journals in a certain amount of time, because it is extremely time consuming. So anyway, that is my take on your price. And I've heard people say things, well, I count how many pages it has, I count how many signatures, I count blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I don't. It could be 5 signatures of not real interesting journal. I mean, just because it has 5 signatures doesn't make the journal worth more. Okay, it'd be a 1 signature journal, and I've seen some out there that I'm like, wow, okay, that's amazing. All right, and that's my subjective view, that I would pay 3 times as much as that other 5 signature journal. So it's subjective. That's all there is to it. Okay, that's all there is to it. It's not about how many pages it has. It's not about how much lace or trim they put in it, although that is a factor when I look at a journal, but that isn't really the determining factor for me. It's overall the art and how they put it together, and if it appeals to me. That's it. Okay, but I don't look at all those other things because I don't think that matters. It really doesn't matter. It may matter to you in your pricing. You know, when I go to do a pricing for a journal, I do look at how many pages, how many signatures, but that determines my price. Okay, because that goes into back again to my cost of supplies. Okay, so that is why I consider that, not because it's necessarily worth more. It just costs more to make. Okay, and I do put that into my price, but I'm just saying that when someone goes to buy a journal, I don't think that they're necessarily thinking about all of those things. Okay, I don't think that's a big factor. I don't think it is. They're just looking at, wow, the art itself, and if they like that. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much it. If y'all have any questions, and if you agree or disagree, let me know. You know, but I can just tell you that I've probably sold close to 200 journals, and you know, there's certain things I know, and you're not going to get paid for your time. You're just not. And art is very subjective, so this is art. The price is going to vary from person to person. That's going to determine the value. And mostly that value is going to be determined about your relationship with your customers and the people that buy your journals, because they determine the price, not you. That's really what it all boils down to. Okay, guys, that's it. And I hope I see you guys again soon. And you take care. Bye-bye.